Story 1. And Miles says dog died. I find him at the pound 4 days later. Backstory. My husband, DH, has a complicated and difficult relationship with his stepmother, who's a truly awful person. His father, on the other hand, was an incredible man, but has since passed away. There are several dog-related incidents in their past, but this is the one that involved me directly. We adopted a sweet beagle named Winston from the shelter when he was over 12 years old. His previous owner had passed away, and he was such a sad, adorable dog that we couldn't resist bringing him home. He had some health problems, but nothing too major. One weekend, we had to go out of town, so we asked my in-laws to watch Winston. When we came back, my father-in-law, Raphael, was reluctant to give Winston back, as they'd really bonded over the weekend. At the time, my in-laws also had a small shepherd dog named Minnie. I'd never heard them complain about Minnie before, but when we picked up Winston, my mother-in-law, Emile, started going on and on about how Minnie had been digging holes in their yard, which wasn't anything special to begin with. After a week of FIL pushing, my husband and I decided to trade Winston for Minnie. I figured Winston, being a senior dog, would enjoy a quieter environment, and I hated to think of Minnie ending up in a shelter, which is what I feared would happen. A year passed, and then my husband and FIL went on a trip together. A few days after they left, I got a call from my MIL. She sounded frantic and upset. She said Winston had a seizure and that she took him to the vet, where they ended up putting him down. I was completely shocked. Winston had one mild seizure when we had him, but I knew he'd had some while with them, and they'd said he was on medication for it. As soon as we hung up, something about her story didn't sit right with me. She mentioned that the vet hadn't charged her for euthanizing Winston because they felt sorry for her, which seemed like an odd, unnecessary detail. I decided to call their regular vet to confirm what had happened. They told me they hadn't seen Winston at all, which was odd because that was the vet she'd said he'd gone to. I then reached out to another vet in the area, but I had to leave a message. This was on a Friday afternoon, and the vet was closed over the weekend. My husband came home on Sunday, and we went over everything. We both realized that there were several inconsistencies in her story. My husband asked his dad which vet MIL had taken Winston to, and he confirmed it was the same one I'd already called. Monday morning, I got a call back from the second vet's office. When I asked if they'd seen a beagle with a seizure, the woman on the phone paused before telling me that a woman, no doubt my MIL, had brought in a beagle, claiming she had hit it with her car and didn't know who it belonged to. The vet had turned the dog over to the pound. I couldn't confirm anything until the pound opened on Tuesday, so I waited until they unlocked their doors. When I walked into the kennels, I immediately heard Winston bang, and I broke down in tears. I couldn't believe that after everything he'd been through, he had spent 4 days in the pound, abandoned again. It cost me over $200 to get him out, which we didn't really have, but there was no way I was leaving him there. When I brought Winston home, my husband was in disbelief. We took him straight over to my in-laws to confront MIL. She stuck to her story, saying that Winston had had a seizure and the vet told her he was going to put him down, but that the vet must have lied. We realized we weren't getting anywhere, so we took Winston and went no contact with them for about a year. My husband still kept in touch with his dad, but we never trusted MIL again. In the end, we ended up with both dogs and Winston was perfectly fine. He lived for another 2 years before developing cancer, which ultimately led to his passing. Minnie never dug a single hole in our yard. Comment 1. If they're not microchipped, I'd recommend it. That way, if she somehow manages to do something again, you can call around and ask them to check for a chip on any new dogs that look like yours. Comment 2. This made me sick to my stomach. Bless you for rescuing those pups. Comment 3. I'm guessing the story of Minnie digging holes was part of Smil's strategy to get rid of Minnie. I'm glad y'all took her. God only knows what would have happened to her otherwise. Did your FIL believe her? I would never be able to forgive someone who did that to my dog. Comment 4. What level of stupid does she have to be when confronted the dog she claimed is dead and still try to deny what she did? How do you even rug sweep that? Story 2. I snapped and went completely in C with Mil and Phil, and it has been so nice. This is a familiar story. Years of dealing with horribly behaved in-laws who consistently mistreated me, finally pushing me past my breaking point. I've reached a point where I want absolutely nothing to do with them. Here are some of their actions. Repeatedly accused me of infidelity and questioned my children's paternity, despite DNA evidence proving my husband is 100% their father. Caused multiple drunken brawls and outbursts at family gatherings in front of my children. Constantly criticized my parenting, such as claiming I'm going to make my children obese by letting them eat until they're full. Made nasty remarks about my parents' and brothers' lives. Lied to me and took my children to places I had explicitly forbidden. Told my children that I'm a sinner and will go to hell for not adhering to their religious beliefs. Coerced my 8-year-old son into swearing to God that he'll join the military when he comes of age. After nearly a decade of enduring their behavior, I've cut off all contact with them. It's been a couple of months, and life has been incredibly peaceful without constantly mediating their obnoxious, self-righteous, and drunken antics. I feel free. Comment 1. God, I cannot imagine looking down at an 8-year-old and telling them to swear to die for a government. Because Grandpa said so. Well done. Stay strong. I hope your husband is able to find his way back to the family that truly loves him. Comment 2. Congratulations. The natural questions are where was and is yours so in all of this, and how did the in-laws react? Are they trying to break and see? Comment 3. Are you still together with their son? How do you do this while also being together with him if he is not on board? In my case, we have young children together, and my so wants to keep his mom in his life / our children's lives despite all the stress she inflicts on our lives. Story 3. Am I all trying to pretend the last 10 years didn't happen? My MIL has been a challenge for the past 10 years. Self-centered, inconsiderate, and often downright rude. According to her, my husband could have done better than me in terms of looks, brains, and body type. Despite all of this, my husband has always stood up for me and set boundaries. So, I can confidently say I don't have a husband problem. Let's fast forward to just the last 3 months. I gave birth in December, and that's when things really went downhill. My MIL showed up at the hospital during my active labor, demanding to see us despite being told not to come. She drove 2 hours to get there and even tried to force her way into the locked labor / delivery unit. My husband had to meet her in the lobby to send her away before security stepped in. The next day, she came to the NICU to meet our son. The visit went okay, but we made her wear a mask because she's anti-vax. Then, she called us the following day to tell us she tested positive for COVID after visiting us. She didn't tell us at the time because she knew we wouldn't let her meet the baby, and she saw it as an opportunity to build his natural immunity. At the time, I was less than 24 hours out from a C-section after having a preemie. I was absolutely furious. We stopped talking to her for a while, explaining why her actions were unacceptable. She turned it all around and played the victim, claiming we were keeping her from her grandbaby, which, by the way, she never calls him by his name or refers to him as our son. Just my grandbaby. She even threatened to sue us for visitation rights, but of course, nothing came of that. Then, she started texting my parents, my aunt, and her in-laws, telling them how I was refusing to let her see the baby and how clearly I favor my own parents over her. Eventually, we started talking to her again. We let her visit us at our home, but only if she took a COVID test, provided us with the results, and kept her mask on the entire time. She fought us on this, but eventually gave in when she realized we weren't going to budge. She still complains about it, of course. She's seen our son maybe 5 times now, and every time, all she does is shove her phone in his face for photos and leave. She's also sent us articles claiming vaccines cause autism, and even mailed us elderberry syrup to add to his formula because she believes it will boost his immune system. The baby is 3 months old, by the way. Last weekend, we planned a small family gathering to introduce the baby to extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. She tried to hijack the whole event and turn it into an engagement party for her daughter, who had just gotten engaged. Tonight, we got a group text from her saying she's coming to visit tomorrow and wants to take the baby out by herself. My husband and I said no, and I told her my husband would be working, but offered her some dates when he'd be off so she could visit. She then shifted her request to just me, her, and the baby getting together. I told her no again. I'm not comfortable having her over without my husband home. She sent us paragraphs about grandparent alienation and how sad this makes her. We responded with a simple, "We're sorry you feel that way, but we're not changing our minds." After this, I called my mom to get her opinion on the situation. My mom is a retired clinical psychiatrist and someone I trust completely. I was surprised when she suggested I try to work on a path forward with my MIL and get comfortable being alone with her. She believes my MIL is trying to establish a relationship, since she's reaching out for one-on-one time, which she's never done before. I, however, don't agree with my mom's perspective. I feel like my MIL is trying to act like the last 10 years didn't happen and that I should just let bygones be bygones because we now have a child. So, based on the events of just the last 3 months, am I overreacting? Should I be making more of an effort to move forward with her? For context, my mom has speculated that my MIL likely has BPD, though she can't officially diagnose her, but that's just her opinion. I'm open to feedback, but please don't suggest going in C. That's just not realistic for our family. And while my husband supports me, he still wants to find a way to make things work with his mom. Edit/update. I've been reading all the responses and am taking time to process them. I truly appreciate everyone who's taken the time to respond and share their insights. I'll reply as I have time to give each response the attention it deserves. Comment 1. Your mom is thinking with grandma brain, which sympathizes with other grandmas. This isn't a logical decision she is making. Your MIL is no more trying to have a good relationship than a seagull is trying to have a good relationship when it flaps around you while you eat a sandwich on the beach. You just have something she wants, that's all. Definitely don't confide in your mom further, unless it is to warn her the next time your MIL does something shitty. Honestly, we all know this woman should have been dead to you when she intentionally exposed a premature baby in a hospital full of people to COVID. She is scum and she will never change. Ever. But your husband isn't ready to accept that. Therapy should be a thing for him, and couples counseling for you too. A beast like this woman is bound to take a toll on a marriage. I don't blame you for not wanting to go and see and risk him getting pulled in deeper by her without your support. Otherwise, keep doing what you are doing. Both you and your husband must be present for all visits. Visits are time-limited and controlled. When the weather is nice, I would only meet her in public spots like a park, if possible. State your boundaries clearly and without emotion. Don't be afraid of her unhappiness. She doesn't care about yours. People like your MIL disgust me to my core, and I hope soon there will be a way to be in C with her for good. She doesn't deserve more than that. Comment 2. You are underreacting. She came to the NICU to visit a preemie with COVID. You never should have resumed contact after that. She didn't just endanger your baby, but all the babies there and the nurses. If I were you, I would go and see forever. The negatives don't outweigh the positives here. She will relax enough to begin mistreating you in front of your baby. Comment 3. She intentionally exposed you all to COVID when your son was in a NICU? I'm sorry, out the airlock with her. Your mom is perhaps a professional, but also has grandma bias. Because she's a decent person and has been allowed a normal relationship with your baby, she can't really see why you would deny that relationship to anyone else. MIL is trying solely to have access to baby. Not because she wants a relationship with you. She has also already endangered your child. On purpose. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.